Hey gang, so today is a sponsored video by Kladis3DStudio, and today we have the pink Slide Track Verkk. This is actually the first time I've ever seen somebody put a post or hardware inside of a 3D slider, and I gotta say I got some thoughts. Let's not waste any more time. You don't want to see my face, you want to see the fidget. So let's go. Okay, so the pink Slide Track Verkk. So this is like the Verkk. This is sort of the same shape, the same, I know a lot of you are familiar with it. But this is actually something different because this has a post inside. So it's a track slider. And I have to say, I have not seen a 3D printed slider that incorporates a metal post like this. Let me just say from the start, the build that goes into this, I think almost kind of puts it sort of beyond a 3D printed slider, only because of the new plates, the way Anthony's got the plates designed, inserting a metal post. So this really, this almost sits in a way above a 3D printed slider. It's below like a metal slider in terms of the way it's built and the way it functions. And so, wow, look at those hand gestures. The way it's built, the way it functions. But it's, I don't know if this is really a simple 3D slider anymore. I mean, there are a couple of makers whose sliders have kind of surpassed the world of simple 3D sliders with the way innovation's been happening with the plates, with the design, with the materials used. And so this is certainly in that category. And I mean, there are a couple of big hitters in the 3D printed world. And clearly Anthony Kladis has easily stepped into that category because just the innovation that he's using in terms of, like I said, the track slider here, and also, obviously, his partnership with Magnus, with the Coral Verkk, just means that things are changing in the 3D world, which I love. Things are stepping forward. So I had a CompuTronic V1.1 at one point, and I loved it, but it was so expensive that I was afraid to take it out with me anywhere. I was afraid of dropping it. I was afraid of putting it in my pocket to scratch it. Honestly, it sat in my case and I would take it out and I would play with it very, very carefully over like a padded area. And that was it. But I loved the security of the track slide. So now with this pink, track slider, I have that functionality back. And I gotta say, I love this little rotating move on any slider. This is my favorite on a track slider, especially just because it's so satisfying. So this really nails it. And frankly, I will say this is the absolute best car fidget ever, because the track slider keeps everything in place, but the material means I don't have to worry so much. Like I've used this in the car and I've dropped it on the floor in the car. I've just dropped it on the console. I've dropped it, while driving around quite a bit, and it's fine. And it's fine because of the cost. Let's put the cost up here right now. So it's fine because of the cost. I think this was around, these are like $55. So again, they're not cheap, but in the world of fidgets, that's pretty affordable. But it's also the durability. Like, it's 3D printed. I'm not worried about this thing falling. Sorry, Anthony, this may or may not be giving you a bit of a heart attack. But again, this thing is fine. I literally dropped this on the floor today, getting ready to do the review, and I picked it up and it was completely fine. So these little moves with the slider, track slider, I love. There are new things you can do with it. This is one while driving that I found out that if you turn it up and move it a certain way, you get this little snap, and then it becomes like a little push button. And that is awesome. I drive and I actually push it to the rhythm of music when I'm listening to a song, like bam, 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 bam. I don't even know what song that was. It sounds like a horrible song. But what's odd is it'll work one way, but if you turn it around, it doesn't work as well sometimes the other side. So there is something interesting going on with the magnet configuration. If I move it to the other side, see how it doesn't bounce back, but then if I turn it over, then it's totally fine. So I think it's just to do with the magnet placement. And then see, so it kind of, now again, it's not intended to do this. It's just saying, you know, if you come up with your own moves, which a lot of us do, you can do this. But just know you have to turn it to a certain side for it to do this click. It will not work if it's in this position. Now, having said that, I do find, unlike a metal slider, right, obviously with metal plates and stuff, sometimes it's a bit sticky to move up. So it's not always a super smooth move. So what I've realized is a lot of times what I have to do, or what you should do, is push on the corner. And you can get it moving, because the minute you push on the corner and you can do this sort of this arc with it, that feels really good. And the two other things, in terms of the design, these thumb grooves are fantastic. These are so comfortable in the finger. It's brilliant. I really love that. And if you look at the gap, if you've seen any of my, watched any of my videos before, the one thing that I really get annoyed with is pinching. This does not pinch because of the gap. So far, this part's great. It works better also when it's cold. And that's just because things contract, right, when they're cold. So it didn't grab quite as much. I found it just like a nice sort of faster movement to it. So one thing to consider, you know what, if you're finding it sticking a little bit, throw in the fridge, throw in the freezer for a little bit. See if that actually makes a difference, because it might. What a weird tip, right? Throw in the freezer. Okay, so let's get to the things that I'd like to see changed, or just things that kind of bother me a bit. Now, again, this is me. This is not everybody. I know there are a ton of fans of this out there, but these are just the things that I'm not as crazy about. One, this little ridge, there's this, let's see if you can see it here. There is a ridge that goes all the way around. Let me just open this up. Okay. So there is a little ridge here that goes around, and this, because it is 3D resin or plastic, it can be sharp and it will cause hot spots. I mean, it was causing hot spots for me as I'm using it, because I push into this edge a lot. So I'm not sure what the purpose of that edge is. It feels like it's just a design. I'd love to see that little lip gone, because it does create hot spots. The other thing is, now this is going to be tricky. Do you see these fine little details here? So the issue is, again, with 3D printed anything, right, with plastic, when you get to detail this small, it's really hard to make it rounded, because of the detailing. And again, we're dealing with plastic, right? Plastic by its nature is kind of sharp. So what happens on these corners is, again, you do get hot spots. Like running your finger along a corner like that gets very scrapey, and it's because of these tiny, tiny little lines. So, you know, again, if this were me, I'd love to not see these lines sort of come into like a point like that. If anything, maybe it'd be the opposite, and seeing them widen out a little so that you don't get that sharpness to it. But what I did find is what you can do, and again, this is, you know, at your own risk. Here, I'll keep this here. I've got a tiny bit of drywalling sandpaper. You know, my wife and I were doing some drywall at one point, and if you just run it over any of the spots that you think are going to be hot spots, because it's the same color all the way through, it's not like you're sanding the paint off. You're really just kind of softening it up. And this actually, I have found, that's me blowing it off, I've found actually makes a huge difference on the texture. So even around like this border here, this is something that you can actually just sort of, you know, run around the sides. And it's also because of the way these are built, if you do drop it and you take a little chunk out or something, it's repairable. You can just sort of sand over it a tiny bit, and look at that. It's totally fine, but it's got the smoothness to it. So it's a really quick way of getting rid of those hot spots. Now, I mean, this is going to be really tough to see, but here is sanded on the left and not sanded on the right. Now, I honestly don't know if there's a difference, but I don't know, maybe it's a placebo in terms of what I'm looking at, but it does feel smoother. So that would be my only thing with this is just, I'd love to see these a bit smoother, but again, obviously it's not like Anthony can like sand each one of these as he makes them. So I would recommend though, that you get the finest sandpaper you can find, super fine, and just lightly brush over it. And that's it. Other than that, I do really think this is great. At first I wasn't sure about it, but once I broke it in, it's actually quite nice. And this post, this is a winner. This is the innovation, the kind of innovation I really love to see in the 3D printed market. Other people are innovating as well. Lots of new designs coming out. This functionality though, the addition of this functionality I think is great. So the only thing I would say is I'd love to see the 3D sort of printed world figure out how to get beyond tiny little sharp areas when it comes to 3D printed plastics. Because again, I understand that's the nature of it. I also realize that people can't just sit and polish each piece before they send it off. These are usually done by like one-man teams, so there isn't a lot, or one-woman team, sorry. One-person teams, one-people teams. That's just not working out. These are made by one person at a time. How about that? And so they can't sit there and sand everything down. Some people, I'm sure, even have no problem at all with the texture, and I'm sure they're great. And I've heard, I hear the comments too, oh, toughen up your fingers. I don't want to. I like my fingers the way they are. So I would rather change the object than try to adapt to it, in this case at least. And so again, a little bit of sandpaper on this works great. The one thing too that I will say that gets a little interesting is when you do a lot of the pushing, you do get, I would imagine skin cells, grime and dirt, a bit of discoloration inside the holes because they are kind of like collectors for that stuff. So I'm already starting to get slightly dark spots in here, but again, I mean, that's just the nature of it, right? And I think a good part of that actually isn't even dirt, but it's really just the way the light hits it because I'm kind of wearing down the texture in those areas. So really, other than that, I think this is really, really good. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but I love this, the post on this. And again, mine is breaking in. You do have to break these in right out of the box. It tends to feel a little stiff. It gets stuck. Anthony was actually saying that the magnets settle in transit. So you do want to kind of, when you get it, kind of like tap the plates against each other to get those magnets kind of moving around. But then once you do, it's pretty snappy, pretty crispy. It's got a great sound to it. And yeah, like it, I do like this. I've been trying to do my, on my old Compiform, I had a move where I'd out. So it works sometimes. Obviously there, it's like a 4-step. There it is. So it's like a turn, push up, turn down, push up. Sometimes it only does the 3, but again, what do you want, It's on, I'm trying to do this on camera. So there you go. This is the pink Slide Track Verkk. Absolutely. Go out and get one. Don't hesitate. This is great. And if for anything, it's great innovation in the 3D printed world with this post. Thanks for watching, gang. How are we doing? Good. Oh, fuck me. Yikes. Track Verkk. Slide track. Fuck.